Billionaire gave 4 luxury black cards to 4 women. What the maid bought is truly transformative. Emily stood at the edge of the grand ballroom, her hands trembling as she glanced around at the shimmering chandeliers and elegant gowns swirling around her. The charity gala had turned the familiar suburban neighborhood into a dazzling spectacle, a stark contrast to her daily grind of laundry and school drop-offs. She felt like a ghost amidst the opulence. Her jeans and simple blouse were swallowed by silk and sequins. It was not just wealth that separated her from the crowd, it was a chasm of dreams unfulfilled and burdens she alone bore. The billionaire, a mysterious man with an air of arrogance, was making headlines tonight, handing out luxury black credit cards like party favors. The laughter echoing like a mocking refrain dragged her thoughts deeper into a whirlpool of inadequacy. Did they even see her? The mother of 2, juggling bills and bedtime stories. Yet here she was, crushed between the grandiosity of it all. She felt resentment creeping up her spine, threading with her shame. Why was she even in a place like this? The image of her children's faces flashed in her mind, reminding her of the core values she tirelessly strived to convey to them. Hard work, integrity, respect. Yet, here she stood, feeling less than worthy as the billionaire selected for women a stunning blonde, a charismatic brunette, a chic redhead, and one trying too hard to fit in. Emily crossed her arms tighter. "You don't belong here," a voice whispered within, echoing against the laughter. They giggled and nodded with gratitude. They had just been given a ticket to excess. But who cared if one could buy all the luxuries in the world? Each swipe of that card felt like a slap against the shadows of her reality, a constant reminder of the limits of her world. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as the air thickened with envy, something shifted in her. Fueled by an uneasy blend of frustration and resolve, Emily stepped forward. Her voice echoed with a fierceness that surprised even her. "Every day, I watch people work their fingers to the bone just to make ends meet. We may not have luxury cards, but we have dreams of our own." The silence that followed felt pregnant with tension. The millionaires rendered momentarily speechless. And then she stood vulnerable, exposed. Would they dismiss her as another voice lost in a sea of privilege? Her heart raced, a stark contrast to her calm facade. Disapproval flickered in their eyes, but determination surged through her veins. Here she was, the maid, speaking truths that pricked their conscience. Reality swept over her ambition and fear hand in hand, fanning the flames of doubt in her chest. Would they reject her? As her words hung in the air, a tall figure approached the billionaire. The interest in his eyes felt like a spotlight revealing her hidden insecurities, turning her world upside down. She just dared to confront the elite, but was she really ready for what lay ahead? Unknown challenges awaited, judgment lurked around the corner, and she felt a wave of uncertainty crash over her, setting her on the edge. The night was far from over. Emily's gait shifted into uncertainty, entangled between hope and the weight of expectations. All eyes were now on her, and yet, she felt heavier. The black card slid into her pocket, a constant reminder of disparity. Each heartbeat whispered, "What will you do next?" As she stepped away from the crowd, a battle of self-doubt brewed within. Could she truly become the voice for those she represented, or would she fade away in the sparkling chaos? The billionaire stood before her, scrutinizing Emily as if trying to decipher some hidden puzzle. She felt her jaw tighten. This man, who wielded wealth like a weapon, must have perceived her as a mere curiosity, a transient encounter in his night of indulgence. Yet, she knew that this moment could very well redefine her narrative. "What did you say?" he asked, the amusement dancing in his voice, thinly veiling his irritation. Emily straightened her posture. "I said we have dreams," those of us out there struggling day to day. It was audacious, and remorse flickered, battling her rising defiance. There they were, those echoing doubts, reminding her of her place in this grand ballroom. Do you think dreams pay bills? He shot back, leaning in, his eyes narrowing. Or allow people to maintain a lifestyle like this? A ripple of indignation coursed through her. How dare he undermine the essence of aspiration? Dreams are the seeds of change. If nurtured, they grow, she insisted, summoning the courage that thrived for her kids, for herself. She could not let his cynicism snuff out the flicker of resolve. His smirk faltered, revealing an unexpected gap in the armor. Emily seized the moment, feeling uncharacteristically alive. What do you know about struggle? She pressed. What if tonight was an opportunity to understand something beyond this excess? He regarded her thoughtfully, curiosity mingling with a hint of disbelief. Her heart thrummed. She had entered uncharted territory where vulnerability washed over courage, and confidence was built from the very doubts that had threatened to overwhelm her. I've built my empire from the ground up, he finally replied, a bit softer. But you're right. Ambition doesn't always equate to understanding. Around them, the ballroom felt distant, luxurious fabric and clinking glasses fading to white noise. In this exchange, Emily unearthed a small flicker of possibility, a potential bridge that connected different worlds. Could she open a dialogue about the complexities and nuances drowned in simple privilege? This revelation ignited something powerful inside her. She realized that she didn't only belong here. She could redefine herself within this space. She thought about the lessons she grasped with her children. Perseverance, dignity, and unwavering belief in themselves. Then maybe it's time to leverage your position, to create a ripple effect, she proposed, capturing his attention with a decisive tone. His brow furrowed as if he was weighing her words, unaccustomed to such directness from the help. And perhaps that was precisely it. He likely spent his days surrounded by sycophants, yet here she was a voice unclouded by ambition. Would you really want to do something like that? His tone was sharpened by curiosity, peeling back layers of condescension and intrigue. Yes, she asserted, but change doesn't happen on its own. It demands boldness and responsibility. Step into the shoes of those far from your world. Use this, she gestured to the revelry around them, as a platform for something transformative. He stared at her, calculating. In that silence, a revelation dawned. Emily wasn't just struggling within her own personal turmoil. She stood at the precipice of something greater. Each heartbeat morphed into a declaration, fueling her sense of purpose. But standing before this billionaire, confronted by the enormity of the world she aimed to penetrate, a question loomed, a question that would shape her choices going forward. Could she truly initiate change, or was she merely reaching for stars too far above her grasp? Suddenly, he lifted his glass. Maybe we should continue this discussion over dinner, he proposed, the veiled challenge flickering in his gaze. Confidence surged, but uncertainty tangled at the edges. As Emily nodded, acceptance dawning over her apprehension, the room around her unfurled once more into a whirlwind of laughter. She felt a tremor beneath the surface of her composure if she didn't tread carefully. Was she flirting with disaster? As the weight of that decision pressed down like the fabric of the gowns surrounding her, Emily stepped in a new direction, uncertain yet emboldened. What awaited her in that sea of privilege? Would she drown, or was this the beginning of her true journey? It was a gamble, a leap into unknown waters. She walked toward destiny, but what awaited her on the other side? The restaurant's atmosphere buzzed with the low murmur of refined conversations and clinking cutlery as Emily walked beside him. Each step felt monumental, like traversing the narrow edge of a precipice. The billionaire led the way, exuding confidence that enveloped him like a tailored suit. Emily kept her head high, conscious of the weight of her own words still reverberating in her mind as they settled into an intimate corner booth, the ambient light casting shadows over their faces. Emily sensed the shift. This was no longer just a moment of confrontation. It had morphed into an opportunity to harness the uncharted territory of influence, a chance to explore her own potential. What do you want to discuss over dinner? He asked, curiosity lacing his tone now. The question lingered, hovering over her like a challenge. Outwardly, she was calm, but beneath the surface, her mind raced. She thought of the dreams she had nurtured, the quiet midnight prayers for progress, and the desire for her children to break free from the cycle of struggle. Let's talk about impact, she suggested, her voice steady. What if your empire could elevate those who struggle, not just for one night, but as part of your legacy? He quirked an eyebrow, intrigued yet skeptical. You're suggesting I play philanthropist? Not just philanthropy, she replied, weighing her words like a delicate balance. I'm talking about collaboration. Imagine leveraging your resources to create sustainable opportunities for those who don't have a seat at this table. He leaned back, fingers steepled, a shadow of doubt flickering in his eyes. And what makes you think I care about that? The challenge hung in the air, daring her to falter. Instead, she leaned in, igniting a spark of defiance. Maybe you don't care yet, but what if this conversation could change that? Hiding in excess can be suffocating. You've built an empire, but at what cost? To really understand your power, you need to see beyond the facade. He regarded her, his expression flickering between contemplation and astonishment. It was disarming to witness the billionaire grappling with impulses usually reserved for the untouchable. Suddenly, she felt a flicker of empathy. The man before her lived in a gilded cage of his own making. And what would I gain from this partnership? He finally asked, edging forward, genuine interest peeking through his uncertainty. Emily offered a small smile, realizing his vulnerability was a gateway. You'd gain insight and understanding of resilience, creativity born from necessity. You'd harness not just your bank account, but inspire a movement that keeps people connected to their dreams. You're far more powerful than you realize. You have the resources to redefine what success looks like. The tension shifted, settling comfortably between them. It dawned on her that this was not about convincing him the transformation had started within herself. She had discovered the courage to speak her truth amid wealth and privilege. The confidence she had nurtured from her experiences with loss and struggle found resonance with him. Their conversation flowed smoothly, punctuated by moments of laughter and shared vulnerability. Emily discovered that beyond the exterior wealth, the billionaire had aspirations, his own dreams entangled in an image of success. Each exchange replaced her earlier apprehension with the certainty that she had a voice worth hearing. As the night wore on and the restaurant lights dimmed, she could sense the world beyond this table of vast wealth and opportunity beckoning her to act. Just as she readied her thoughts for another bold proposal, he held up his glass, a flicker of his newfound resolve in his gaze. Let us take this a step further. What if we host an event? A collaboration between your world and mine, he suggested, adrenaline coursing through his words. Excitement surged within her, mingled with an undeniable anxiety. In that moment, she recognized that this was the threshold of change, an opportunity to bridge their disparate realities. But would he follow through? Could this just be another fleeting conversation lost in the labyrinth of privilege? Emily's heart raced. The stakes had never been higher. The next step would require every ounce of her resolve to turn mere words into actionable change. What awaited them at the intersection of ambition and purpose? Could they truly forge a new narrative together? Or was this just a flickering flame destined to extinguish in the wind of indifference? Emily's mind raced with possibilities as she returned home that evening, her thoughts colliding in a whirlwind of ambition and uncertainty. The conversation with the billionaire had ignited a spark within her, urging her to push the boundaries of her conventional life. Yet, the weight of what lay ahead pressed against her chest. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating her children's laughter as they played. She watched them for a moment, her heart swelling with a fierce resolve. This was no longer about her or him. It was about creating a future that offered her children choices she never had. As she poured their cereal, she contemplated how to translate the night's momentum into tangible action. Her phone buzzed, and she snatched it up. A message from the billionaire flashed across the screen. Can we meet again tomorrow to discuss ideas? The invitation sent a thrill of excitement through her, but doubt soon followed. What if she couldn't articulate her vision clearly? What if he realized she was just an ordinary woman trying to act bigger than she was? Determined not to let fear dictate her fate, Emily grabbed her laptop, determined to prepare. She crafted 2 lists. One outlined her vision for a partnership and the second detailed potential initiatives they could take. As she typed, her thoughts crystallized. Their collaboration could focus on entrepreneurship, equipping aspiring small business owners with mentorship, resources, and funding. Hours passed, but the ideas flowed easily. Emily lost herself in the vision of a training program, perhaps a series of workshops where individuals could learn the essential skills needed to launch their own ventures. Success wasn't merely about access to capital. It was about cultivating confidence, resilience, and practical knowledge. When she finally looked up, it was evening. She felt a tremor of nerves course through her as she tucked her children into bed. Would she have the confidence to challenge a man who had the world at his fingertips? As she kissed their foreheads, an intense knowing settled within her. This was more than a business proposal. It was a chance to redefine purpose in her life and his. The next day, she arrived at the meeting with a mix of anticipation and self-assurance. They met in a room adorned with slick, polished wood and modern art, a stark contrast to the humble environment where she'd grown up. The billionaire was already seated, an expectant look on his face. As she laid out her proposal, passion seeped into her words. "You have the power to create joy and opportunity," she urged, her voice steady despite the fluttering panic in her stomach. "Let us not just host an event. Let us build a legacy that transforms lives. Imagine the ripple effect we could achieve by investing in those who have the passion but lack the means." He listened, his expression shifting from skepticism to intrigue. Each point she articulated seemed to resonate with the man she had sensed lurking beneath the surface of wealth and privilege. Her vision was ambitious, but reflecting on last night, she knew her confidence could carry her through as the discussion unfolded. She recognized that this was her moment. She wasn't merely trying to convince him. She was actively shaping a narrative where both of their dreams could coexist. But just as the conversation deepened, she saw the flicker of indecision cloud his eyes. The billionaire shifted in his chair, and for a moment, the weight of yesterday's conversation hung between them, a fragile thread connecting ambition to action. "What if it doesn't work?" he asked, his voice low, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't anticipated. Emily inhaled deeply, ready to confront that doubt. "What if it does? We won't know until we try. I sense that the essence of being truly successful, risking it all for something meaningful." She saw the gears turning in his mind as he wrestled with her challenge, but her own resolve solidified. He needed to understand the stakes of this venture intimately. "True change is never easy," she continued, "but I promise you, it's worth every ounce of effort." As silence enveloped them, Emily realized she had left no room for retreat. She had placed herself on the line, ready to embrace either triumph or failure. What lingered now was a question hanging in the air: would he rise to meet this challenge, or would he retreat back into his insulated world? The next few moments stretched into an eternity, waiting for his response. She held her breath. The future was within reach, a tantalizing prospect of change, and the tension of his decision loomed like a storm cloud ready to burst. Would he decide to join her on this daring journey, or would her vision evaporate into another fleeting idea lost among the rich? Emily steeled herself, knowing that whatever his answer, her path had irrevocably shifted. The moment of truth awaited. The silence that filled the room was deafening, stretching into a void filled with Emily's hopes and fears. She carefully scanned the billionaire's face for any sign of a decision, but uncertainty clouded his features. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the stakes involved. "Let us consider the implications," he finally replied, his voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. "A venture like this needs resources, dedication, and a commitment that's hard to promise." She could hear the hesitation in his tone, a subtle admission that perhaps he understood the weight of her proposal, yet was afraid to leap into the unknown. "I realize the challenges," she responded, quickly shifting gears. "But the potential for real change and impact is worth it. Investing in others amplifies our own strengths. I know it." Emotion surged through her, propelling her to advocate for the very vision that could alter countless lives. She leaned forward, her pulse quickening. We can create not just opportunities for individuals, but ignite a culture of entrepreneurship. Together, we can inspire movement beyond mere financial security. He studied her, and she wondered if he was truly internalizing her words. Each second felt heavier. There was no room for self-doubt now. She was here as an innovative force, fueled by passion and purpose. A stark contrast to the wealth surrounding her. The billionaire paused, his lips pressing into a thin line as he seemed to weigh his options. This felt like a pivotal moment, an intersection where ambition met the pragmatic world of finance. "I'm not just a businessman," he admitted at last, breaking the tension. "I've seen many ideas fade away due to a lack of follow-through. It's easy to get caught up in the vision without the grit required to see it through." Her resolve hardened. "That's precisely why we should work together. I have the experiences of those aspiring to build something of their own. I've been in their shoes. I understand the struggles, the late nights, and the sacrifices. Together, we can create a framework to guide them, to ensure they don't face those battles alone." He nodded slowly, and she noticed a flicker of something, perhaps interest, or even hope. Yet doubt lingered in the back of her mind. Was he still an untouchable billionaire? Or could he be an ally? "Let us say I'm interested." He leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "What kind of structure are you envisioning for this project?" Emily felt a surge of adrenaline course through her. This was a question she had prepared for. "I envision a series of workshops led by experienced entrepreneurs who can provide mentorship. Participants would receive not just training but also resources, access to funding, and a network of support. We tailor it to their needs, ensuring they walk away with actionable plans." For the first time, she sensed genuine interest in his eyes. "That sound?" He conceded, and she felt a warmth unfurl in her chest. "But how will we measure our success?" She breathed out, steadied by the prospect of a deeper conversation. "Success should be defined by the achievements of those we mentor, the businesses launched, the lives transformed. We could track progress through metrics like revenue growth, community engagement, and most importantly, personal stories of triumph." As Emily continued to illustrate her vision, it became evident that she was not merely proposing a project. She was cultivating a belief. The more she spoke, the more she felt herself shifting from a mere dreamer to a catalyst for change. But even as the landscape expanded before them, doubt lurked within. Was he genuinely willing to be part of this? Did he comprehend the transformative power resting in his hands? The familiarity of her doubts resurfaced again, whispering reminders of potential rejection. "Then let us start by drafting a plan," he declared, grounding her spiraling thoughts. "We can set goals and create timelines. If you can commit to this, I can too." His words were promising, but Emily understood the fine line between ambition and reality. The real work lay ahead. Was she ready for that? The thought both exhilarated and terrified her. "Let us do it," she asserted, determination saturating her voice. As they began to outline next steps, Emily felt the weight of expectations settle heavier than before. She thought of her children, her ambitions, and the countless lives that could change with them. But with every opportunity came complications, and as she pushed forward, a nagging question remained. Would she be able to maintain her sense of self amidst this newfound power? Just as their plans started taking shape, a knock on the door interrupted them. In walked an unexpected visitor, an old rival with a reputation for tearing ideas apart. Emily's heart sank. The challenge ahead had escalated, and the fight for her vision was only just beginning. Emily's heart raced as the door swung open. There stood Ivy Hastings, her former colleague at a high-powered firm that had a reputation for merciless competition. Ivy, with her poised demeanor and cutting wit, had made a career out of dismantling the ideas of others. Her arrival felt like a storm cloud rolling in, threatening to shatter the delicate thread of hope Emily had started to weave. "Emily," Ivy said, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything serious." Both men were instantly on high alert, recognizing the unspoken rivalry that had followed Emily from the conference rooms of their past. Emily could sense the tension entering the room as Ivy's presence clawed at her already fragile confidence. Would she now need to defend her vision against someone who thrived on criticism? Not at all. We were just about to discuss a new venture, Emily replied, forcing herself to project calmness and authority. Yet, inside her mind, self-doubt twisted like a knife. Ivy's eyes twinkled with mischief. Oh, I've heard rumors about your big plans. Let us see whether they're as brilliant as you think. Her gaze landed on the billionaire, a slight smirk playing on her lips. And you, of all people, are considering investing in this? His brow furrowed slightly, and Emily clenched her fists at her sides, resisting the urge to flinch under Ivy's scrutinizing glare. The tension crackled in the air as ice and fire collided. I believe in collaboration and innovation, he interjected, tilting his chin toward Emily in a gesture of support. We were just brainstorming ways to develop her proposal further. Ivy's laughter slid icily from her lips. Ah, the idealism of youth. You know how these things go, Mr. Rainsford. Dreams are lovely until they encounter a dose of cold reality. Her eyes darted back to Emily, her tone shifting to one of calculated cruelty. So, what's your backup plan when it inevitably fails? Emily's insides twisted. Ivy's judgment cut deep, but she forced herself to stand tall. I'm not focused on failure. I'm focused on building a supportive environment for aspiring entrepreneurs and ensuring they have the tools to succeed. Tools? Ivy echoed, her voice dripping with skepticism. You can't build a structure without a foundation. What do you know about the dynamics of real business? The words hit Emily like a slap. Could she prove Ivy wrong? Or was she setting herself up for a fall? Just last year, I managed a project that helped 5 startups find funding and launch successfully. Emily shot back, feeling the stir of defiance rise in her chest. Is that so? Ivy leaned in, eyes narrowing. And what happens when those same entrepreneurs struggle? A usual occurrence. Are you prepared for the fallout when idealism morphs into disillusionment? Each question felt like a tightrope walk above an abyss. Emily now faced a challenge not just from Ivy, but from within herself, the haunting fear of inadequacy. Yet amidst the shadows of doubt, a flicker of resolve sparked. I can't predict every outcome, she admitted slowly, but I'm ready to learn from those struggles when they come. I intend to surge forward no matter the obstacles. That's what makes a good businesswoman, right? A tense silence enveloped the room. Ivy scoffed but begrudgingly met Emily's fierce gaze. Perhaps there was more to Emma's resolve than she had anticipated. Let us hope that fire doesn't burn out under the weight of reality, Ivy retorted, cleverly shrouding her true thoughts. As the conversation shifted, Emily felt a rush of adrenaline surge through her veins, mingled with the adrenaline of confrontation. She was faced with not just Ivy's challenges, but the harsh truths of her own vulnerabilities. In learning to navigate this new danger, she felt raw determination bloom within her. It was one thing to have a vision, but it was another to defend it against forces trying to dismantle it with logic and experience. As discussions moved on, collaboration began to reshape itself before her. She had to grasp the opportunity and turn it into something tangible. But would the tension created by her rival push her closer to her goals or send her spiraling? She glanced at the billionaire, sensing a subtle acknowledgement of her strength, and knew she had support. The collaborative venture was materializing, yet the fight was going to demand every ounce of her spirit. Each step deeper into this initiative encased her in uncertainty. Life was a pendulum swing between ambition and fear. She had to grasp the bar and push forward. Just as Ivy made a casual remark that drew laughter from the billionaire, Emily's phone buzzed vehemently on the table, pulling her back from the moment. A familiar name flashed across the screen, one that could unravel everything she had built. Her breath hitched, and she hesitated before answering. The challenge ahead was no longer just about Ivy. It was also about facing the people who could either bolster or destroy her nascent dream. What would happen next? Would she sink under the weight of old ties? Or would she forge ahead undeterred? Emily's fingers trembled as she stared at the screen. The name flashing back was one that brought with it a flood of memories both exhilarating and painful. James Mercer. He was a former mentor, but their relationship had turned fraught after she had left the firm where they both had once flourished. Taking a deep breath, she knew there was no escaping it. This call could either help or hinder her ambitions. "Excuse me for a moment," she said, the confidence wavering in her voice as she stepped outside, her heart racing with uncertainty. The chilly air contrasted with the heat of the confrontation inside, reinvigorating her focus. She accepted the call. "Emily," James began, his tone neither harsh nor overly warm. "I heard you're trying to launch a new venture. I'd like to lend my support." His words felt like a double-edged sword. Support from someone like James could open doors, but it also came with expectations and possible strings attached. "Thank you. What kind of support are we talking about?" she challenged, wanting to ensure she wouldn't sell parts of her vision in exchange for capital. "A strategic perspective, of course," he replied smoothly, "and perhaps some connections. You know how the game is played." Emily hesitated, weighing the value of connections against the potential compromises. "Can we meet?" There was a brief pause on his end. "Sure. Let us discuss your vision and how I can contribute in a way that aligns with your goals." As she hung up, the weight of the conversation lingered in her mind. Part of her was thrilled at the prospect of reestablishing her network with someone who had significant influence. Yet what if accepting help meant bending on key aspects of her mission? The ideals she had staked her future on stood on a precipice, vulnerable to the fears that had arisen from Ivy's cruel taunting. Deep inside, she realized something crucial. The power of her project didn't stem from grand promises or elusive outcomes. It lay in her approach to nurturing talent. She had already taken the first step, tackling Ivy's harsh critique with clarity and conviction. Now, this call with James was another chance, one that would either fortify her path or challenge her resolve. Returning to the meeting, she sensed the shift in energy upon entering the room. Ivy's presence was still palpable, but Emily felt a sense of control returning. The conversation returned to business notions, proposal details, and strategies for engaging potential investors. She spoke with renewed vigor, weaving in her experiences and insights from the past year. The billionaire leaned in closer, intrigued by her authenticity. As words flowed between them, Emily recognized that her vision was not merely about success, it was about creating a lasting impact on budding entrepreneurs, offering them the tools to thrive amid adversity. Yet, just as she felt she was securing her footing, Ivy set off another verbal barrage, ruthlessly questioning the core of Emily's methodologies. "And what specific measures do you have in place to ensure your participants actually grasp these tools? It's a lovely idea, but visions don't mean much without execution." The tension made her pulse quicken, sparking a fight-or-flight response. Invoking James' words as motivation, she stood taller. "My approach is rooted in practicality. It's about iterative learning and adjusting to real-world challenges, not a one-size-fits-all solution." Ivy's gaze narrowed. Behind her calculated demeanor, Emily sensed a flicker of respect. It stung more than it soothed, but Emily embraced it. This moment was about channeling the doubt into a source of power. With each exchange, the room buzzed with ideas and possibilities. It reaffirmed the notion that defensiveness might shatter the fragile excitement she had cultivated. Instead, she needed to embody the spirit of collaboration. As her voice rose amidst the dialogues, her vision evolved into a symphony, harmonizing the perspectives present. Just when the discussions were warming up again, her phone vibrated wildly in her pocket. Another text. Puzzled, she pulled it out to see a simple but ominous message. "We need to talk about what you proposed. Tonight. In person." The implications of that text wrapped around her like chains, constricting her ambition. What had seemed like a moment of triumph was suddenly overshadowed by potential complications. Could this be a meeting that questioned her newly regained confidence? As uncertainty loomed, she steeled herself for the imminent confrontation. Emily realized that each challenge she faced would only fortify her determination to rise above. She was now on the precipice of a climactic journey, where clarity in direction was imperative. What awaited her in that meeting? Would she succumb to the forces threatening her progress, or would she take control and reshape the narrative? As her heart drummed in anticipation, she understood that the true battle was just beginning, the ultimate test of her vision against the foes of her past and present. Emily paced the room, her thoughts spiraling as she contemplated the implications of the message. The air felt heavy with anticipation. It was a pointed reminder that the safety of her vision was now threading through the stakes of confrontation, whispering of potential betrayal or hard-earned growth. The easy comfort of denial was tempting, but the demands of reality pulled her forward. She had carved out space for her ambitions, only to have it threatened by haunting doubts incited by the looming specter of James, and now a new, unwelcome meeting. Instead of retreating, she needed to bury her fears beneath a sense of purpose. It was a chance to fortify herself against any adversary, big or small. As she prepared for the meeting, she meticulously reviewed her proposals, focusing on the core principles that defined her work. Her commitment to fostering genuine connections and empowering talent filled pages with earnest enthusiasm. She wouldn't waver. The people she aimed to support deserved clarity and conviction. The message she would deliver tonight wouldn't be just about her. It would signify a louder call to the essence of her mission. Steeling herself for the evening, she swapped her tailored blazer for something considerably more daring, a testament that she had grown beyond the shadows her previous insecurities cast. As she walked towards the assigned venue, her heartbeat slept just beneath a confident facade. She recalled the words of a fellow entrepreneur: "Every meeting is a negotiation about your vision." Arriving at the upscale restaurant, the ambience struck her deeply, the glimmering chandeliers above promising the allure and treachery of high-stakes negotiations. Here, ambition mingled with allure, and the scent of success was intoxicating, yet it clawed at her insecurities. The moment she entered, her eyes landed on Ivy seated at a corner table, her posture exuding an air of dominance. A cadre of associates encircled her, their murmurs punctuating the atmosphere with an undercurrent of tension. This was not merely a dialogue, it was a battleground. Taking a steadying breath, Emily strode toward the table, resolute to reclaim her narrative. "I'm here," she said, addressing Ivy directly, her voice a mix of poise and purpose. The eyes of the associates flitted toward her, curious and somewhat judgmental. Would they see strength or vulnerability? Ivy smiled, but it was predatory. "Good to see you, Emily. I hope you've brought something of substance to discuss." There was no hiding her disdain, a flicker of amusement dancing on her lips like a predator sizing up its prey. "Absolutely," Emily replied, reclaiming her confidence even as she felt the struggle ripple beneath her skin. "I have a clear vision that focuses on fostering talent. I want us to engage in meaningful conversations, not just transactional exchanges." "Meaningful?" Ivy echoed, arching an eyebrow. "You mean the kind where you're left with unrealistic expectations and dreams?" The others at the table laughed lightly, but Emily remained undeterred. Their collective amusement only fueled the fire within her. "Not at all," Emily countered with a calmness she didn't quite feel. "This is about real impact, not superficiality. Participants should be equipped with the skills to navigate challenges, not handed mere ideals." The words came out strong and clear, defying the weight of Ivy's former doubts. "You seem to misunderstand," Ivy said, leaning in slightly. "This industry is brutal. It rewards the cutthroat. Are you willing to keep up with that pace?" Emily's stomach clenched as she recognized a challenge disguised as a question. This was at the moment where clarity would either emerge brilliantly or collapse under scrutiny. Was she prepared for the reality Ivy threatened to expose? Gritting her teeth, she thought of what James said: "Play the long game." I've already been battling for my vision long before this conversation. Ivy, it's time the industry evolves, and I'm ready to lead that change, even in the face of opposition. Her voice rang with conviction, punctuating every syllable with an unyielding certainty. The expressions around the table shifted, and Emily sensed the slightest hesitance from Ivy. Perhaps her unfiltered ambition was rattling the expectations carefully guarded within the corporate walls they all operated in. Just then, as tension hovered around them, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen, another message from James. "Don't forget who you are tonight." What did that mean? Was her confidence slipping away? Or was it being tested? In that instant, Emily realized she needed more than just a battling spirit. She needed a vision rooted in the realities of their harsh world. As Ivy began to respond, Emily steeled herself. She could either fall into the trap of doubt or seize this moment as a pivot point, an opportunity to shatter the glass ceilings looming over her ambitions. The stakes were rising. The temperature in the room shifted. What legacy would she create in the face of adversity tonight? Would it be one of timid defeat or relentless ambition? Only time would tell as the conversation heated up, and she was about to find herself at the edge of a precipice teetering between fear and the fierce call of her own destiny. Emily squared her shoulders as Ivy's words circled around her like vultures. Would she retreat or stand her ground? No more fragile responses. This was her opportunity to ignite a different dialogue. With each beat of her heart, she felt time stretch taut, the potential of this moment hanging heavy in the air. Let us set realistic expectations then, Emily suggested, redirecting the conversation. This industry does reward certain behaviors, but what if we shifted the focus toward personal growth and long-term achievements? Are we merely going to perpetuate a cycle of ruthless competition, or can we redefine success? The question hung between them like a stone dropped in water, rippling out towards the curious ears around the table. Ivy's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise crossing her face before it transformed into a more calculated demeanor, as if Emily had inadvertently thrown down a gauntlet. Interesting approach, Emily, Ivy said, her tone now taking on a hint of amusement rather than outright disdain. But tell me, who do you envision as the audience for these transformational experiences? Do you see them climbing the corporate ladder or wandering in a haze of idealism? The laughter that followed from Ivy's associates felt like daggers aimed straight at Emily's resolve. She had anticipated the condescension but drew strength from the awkward silence that followed the laughter. It was their disbelief, their doubt fuel for her fire. All of us know that the latter will never be unblemished, she replied, feeling empowered as the familiar tide of clarity washed over her. But choosing the right companions on that journey can make all the difference. A person empowered with skills and a clear understanding of their worth will shatter ceilings, not just ascend them. She saw the silhouettes of raised eyebrows, some of Ivy's associates visibly pondering her words. A crack had formed in Ivy's unyielding facade. Yes, the tempo of the room had shifted, and Emily's determination was enveloping the atmosphere. Empowered? Ivy scoffed. Does that involve empty platitudes? Or are you actually delivering something of value? The challenge was explicit, yet Emily felt her gut twist with renewed courage. With a firm breath, she leaned in closer, stealing Ivy's thunder. Empowerment is never empty. It is a launching pad. I'm not here simply to talk. I'm here to implement real change. And I have solutions that can challenge your views. Emily watched as Ivy's eyes narrowed, the flickering match of surprise turning into embers of annoyance. Let us hear your proposal then. Ivy relented, her voice now tinged with irritation. As Emily began laying out her structured framework, she felt the earlier tension dissipate, replaced by a clearer sense of purpose. Every projection she made, powered by her personal convictions and insights from years of experience, began to weave a tapestry that enveloped their assumptions. And yet, in the pit of her stomach, a new anxiety brewed, rooted deeper than their reactions. Could she truly affect change in an industry so steeped in its traditions? The thought clawed at her, demanding she confront her deepest insecurities. The momentary hesitation of Ivy's associates blossomed into eager attention, a shift she hadn't anticipated. Perhaps this was the breakthrough she needed or just another step on a turbulent road. When she finally paused, she was met with a silence that seemed both expectant and contemplative. Ivy leaned back, a mask of surprise unevenly draped over her features. Her guard clearly rattled. Very well, Ivy said slowly, almost grudgingly. Let us see if this is more than just a dream. Emily's heart raced as she took stock of the shift at the table. This was her moment, and instead of a battle, perhaps a partnership was possible. I'm glad you're open to exploring this, Ivy, Emily replied with a newfound steadiness, her belief in her own vision blossoming. Through the fog of professional rivalry, a flicker of possibility appeared. But just as she began to relish the prospect of influence, her phone buzzed again, jolting her back. The message from James read, "Remember, a vision without strategy is merely a dream." For a fleeting moment, doubt crept in, lurking at the edges. Was she ready for what was to come? As the conversation began to take a more productive turn, Emily realized that a decision was looming. She needed to embrace the intensity of this moment not only for herself but for the values she championed. What if Ivy's shift was just a facade? A way to extract Emily's ideas without any intent to partner? Would her desire to transform the industry cost her the very vision she fought for? Across from her, Ivy had the glimmer of amusement back in her eyes. The tension felt like a coiled spring, ready to unfurl at any moment. The interplay of anticipation was electric, and Emily sensed the stakes were rising once again. Would she protect her vision at all costs? Or would she navigate this newfound power play and create something revolutionary? The debate within her surged. Emily's moment of truth was upon her, ready to present itself. The sun cast a warm glow over the expansive gardens as Emily stood outside the venue, reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this pivotal moment. After weeks of intense negotiations, brainstorming sessions, and challenges from both Ivy and James, she had reached a watershed in her mission. The initiative to empower aspiring entrepreneurs was no longer just a vision. It had transformed into a tangible project with a structured framework, ready to be introduced to potential collaborators. The millionaire, once a figure shrouded in luxury, was now an ally committed to creating real change. Emily marveled at her personal growth, having gone from a maid questioning her place in the world to a pivotal voice advocating for others like her. The formal proposal she'd constructed resonated powerfully with multiple investors. Indications of interest flooded in following their recent meeting. And the interest was genuine. In her heart, Emily recognized how far she had come. No longer was she the woman who slinked into the grand ballroom, feeling inadequate amid the glittering elite. Now she was a woman of substance, equipped with skills born from her hard work, understanding of struggle, and an unwavering belief in the power of resilience. Each word she had spoken against Ivy's derision had forged new pathways, not only in her career but in her identity. She had conquered her insecurities and claimed space at the table meant for dreamers and doers alike. As she prepared for the grand launch of the initiative later that evening, Emily had never felt more ready. The gathering was set to unveil a commitment to investment in people over profit, harnessing the rich experiences of the entrepreneurs she intended to support. The workshops would not just equip attendees with knowledge but also provide a network of mentorship through experienced professionals like the Billionaire and others who had committed to the cause. She reflected on how Ivy's skepticism had inadvertently strengthened her resolve, ultimately leading to a collaborative partnership they were now embarking on together. As much as Ivy had questioned her approach, the structured plan had turned their rivalry into mutual respect, creating a working dynamic dedicated to real change. Emily felt grounded in her mission. She was not just bringing her voice to the forefront but igniting a conversation about purpose beyond profit margins. And as she watched her children run freely in the sunshine, she was fueled by the desire for them to grow up in a world where they could chase their dreams relentlessly, bolstered by the support systems she would help put in place. The anticipation mounted as Emily took the stage that evening, the spotlight illuminating her newfound confidence. Her voice rang clear and steady as she shared her journey, the fears, the struggles, and the victories that had led her to this moment. The audience leaned in, enraptured not only by her vision but by the authenticity of her story. When she concluded her address, applause broke out, a cascade of appreciation echoing through the auditorium. It was followed by heartfelt testimonials from early participants of the program who stood beside her as proof that her vision was not just aspirational. It was being realized. The energy was palpable, and Emily reveled in the recognition, knowing she had stepped into her calling, leading a movement dedicated to lifting others. Afterward, she took time to reflect alongside her new collaborators. The warmth of gratitude surfaced as they shared their thoughts and excitement about the impact they could create together. Emily had not only achieved success but had fundamentally reshaped her identity within this world of entrepreneurs. Her confidence was firmly established, her competence acknowledged, and her purpose clear. As she stepped away from the podium and felt the overwhelming support of the community behind her, she embraced the clarity that had eluded her for so long. It was in that moment of professional triumph, surrounded by individuals united in a singular mission that she understood deeply. She belonged. The evening culminated with her taking a position not just as a leader but as a changing force in a landscape that had once seemed insurmountable. Emily was no longer a spectator. She was the architect of her own legacy. It was time to directly ask for your support in spreading this emotion-filled story of triumph and transformation. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire hearts and minds. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these stories reach a wider audience. I want to hear from you, so comment your reactions and theories about Emily's incredible journey. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this empowering conclusion. Your engagement is vital in magnifying these messages. Your voice can help others overcome their challenges too.